Welcome into the Important Nonsense YouTube waiver show. It's Jason Draven. We're going to get you here up and ready for week 14. Yeah, we're here. The Colts, Dolphins, Patriots, and Eagles are all on a bye this week. So we'll start off as usual with quarterbacks, some big injuries. So we're going to be looking at these guys pretty hard and a lot of big names coming off that are usually my favorite streamers. But we're starting off with Taysom Hill. If he is named the starter, 35.9% rostered. Has the Jets and Buccaneers upcoming. After dealing with plantar fasciitis and now he has that mallet finger, he still is putting up great numbers. He came back in after injuring it. He went 19 for 41. 264 yards and 2 touchdowns. Granted, he did throw 4 interceptions, but what really saved his day was his 11 carries for 101 yards. That's something that you really enjoy out of quarterback, is that they are able to be mobile like that is a huge help. So speaking of mobile quarterbacks, we'll move into the next guy, and it's Cam Newton, 34.5% rostered. He has the Falcons and Bills upcoming. You really only want him for this 1 week, but he is a great rental for you. Week 11, his first real week, 21 for 27, 189 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had a 10 rushes for 46 yards and a TD as well. So versus the Washington football team, 26.16 fantasy points. This week before the bye, he went 5 for 21, 92 yards and 0 TDs and 2 interceptions. Granted, he only rushed 3 times for 5 yards, but he added a TD there, which really saved his day. Instead of you guys having a negative day, that ended up pretty okay. But we've also realized Dolphins are a good defense, and that's who you went up against, so only put up that 6.18 fantasy points. Like I said, 1 week rental, definitely only somebody you want for that 1 week. We'll move into running backs, and it's Matt Breida. Yep, you guys don't love him, and I understand. He has a game tonight. He should look pretty good because he has that burst, and he's just looked better than Zach Moss. Zach Moss has actually been a healthy scratch. Week 10, he had 3 carries for 28 yards and a touchdown, and also caught 3 balls for 22 yards and a touchdown, 18 fantasy points. Week 11, 5 for 51, no touchdown, 1 catch, 16 yards, 7.7 fantasy points. Week 12, so last week, the week before tonight, which he should have a pretty good game tonight, 9 carries, 26 yards, no touchdown, 2 receptions, 29 yards, and a TD, 13.5 fantasy points. Next guy is coming off of a bye and has been in a backfield that is very messy with Mick Nichols as somebody coming potentially back, and it's trell Hillyard, 35.9% rostered. His upcoming matchups are the Jaguars and the Steelers, and like I said, he joined the team from the Browns in week 10. Week 11, his first real game, 7 for 35, no touchdown, 8 receptions, 47 yards, 16.2 fantasy points versus Texas. Granted, it's a Texan, so you can't take a whole lot into that. However, week 12, 12 carries, 131 yards, 1 touchdown, and added a reception for 2 yards for 18.3 fantasy points, and that was against the Patriots. So with this matchup against the Jaguars, I think he is pretty much set up for success as somebody who can really just explode onto the game and have a great amount of success there. We'll look into wide receivers here, and it's again somebody playing tonight. Kendrick Bourne, 33.9% rostered. He has the Bills tonight and the Colts. Week 10, 4 for 4, 98 yards and a touchdown, 24.1 fantasy points. Week 11, 4 for 4, 42 yards, no touchdowns, 8.9 fantasy points, pretty solid. Week 12, so last week, 5 for 6, 61 yards, 2 touchdowns, 23.1 fantasy points. He really has that connection with Mac Jones, which is making him extremely valuable. Granted, he is going to be on bye next week, but he's not somebody you're wanting to let go of. The other guy is, again, my boy, Josh Reynolds, 2.7% rostered, has the Vikings and Broncos upcoming, has that connection with Goff since their time in LA together. First week, didn't have any success. Week 12, 3 for 5, 70 yards, 1 touchdown, 16 fantasy points. This past week, 4 of 7 for 69 yards and TD, or 10.9 fantasy points. He is changing this offense by himself. He's getting Amon-Ra, St. Brown targets. He's getting Hawkinson targets. He's getting everybody else open, and he's just a huge help for this offense. And moving forward, I think that Goff can really rely on him, and he's going to be a huge asset for this team. We'll start off with tight end, and it's Cole Kmet here, 13.5% rostered. He has the Packers and Vikings upcoming. If Dalton remains the quarterback, which I'm still thinking that he will, Kmet has a chance, as well as Allen Robinson just being out. He hasn't been seeing a whole lot of targets, but he's been very effective with the ones he has seen. And with Dalton tossing that rock all over the place, he should have success. Week 12 had his best week, 14.5 fantasy points. This past week, he saw 7 targets, which is great. 3 of 7 for 41 yards, 7.1 fantasy points. It's not a great outing, but it's definitely somebody that is going to be viable as a tight end flex for you if you're looking for somebody. We'll move into the other guy who is also very risky, but has a good amount of volume, and it's Gerald Everett, 7.4% rostered, has the Texans and Rams upcoming. Wilson is still struggling to get back to himself, and since he's done that, Everett has seen a nice target share. Week 11, 3 for 4, 37 yards, 6.7 fantasy points. Week 12, 5 of 9, 37 yards and a touchdown, 14.7 fantasy points. This past week, he had the chance for 2 touchdowns that actually ended up in interceptions or fumbles. 4 for 6, 7 yards, no touchdown, 0.7 fantasy points. Absolutely ruins it, but I'm telling you, that target share is something that you really want on your team, and the fact that he's getting targeted in the end zone is even a plus. We'll move into defenses, and we're starting off with my home team, 7.2%, the Chargers. They have the Giants and Chiefs upcoming. Week 11, no fantasy points. Week 12, 3 fantasy points versus the Broncos. This past week against the Bengals, where they just balled out, even with Joey Bosa, who had to be sidelined, 19 fantasy points. With all these great matchups that are upcoming, Eagles they have a couple of really solid ones and could actually be a solid move for the playoffs because they just have decent matchups moving forward. We'll move to the next team, and it's the Carolina Panthers. 44.6% rostered, but they have the Falcons and the Bills to get another 1 week rental. Week 10, 14 fantasy points. Week 11, 4 fantasy points versus the Washington football team. Week 12, 3 fantasy points versus Dolphins, who really have shown to be a solid matchup. This is a good matchup for them. It should be a slow gameplay, allowing the team to really have success. And like I said, I think that Panthers just fired their OC to allow them to really focus on running the ball, which they want to do. And with Cam Newton under center, they're going to be able to do that. Against this Washington football team, I think they will have a lot of success, and it's definitely going to be a team that you want. With that in mind, I hope you all have a good week 14. Best of luck, and as always, remember to keep up the nonsense.